again on CNN. CNN really likes having Debbie Wasserman Schultz
And let me
on.
tell you, please keep doing so.
If you have the stomach.
No. That's fundraising for us, baby. Keep it up, Debbie. Fly, Icarus, fly.
Here we go.
From the president, given the fact that he said this is in fact a red line.
What I believe, Erica, is that Hamas needs to release the 134 hostages, and as well as the bodies of the deceased who died in their captivity. What I believe is that Hamas needs to end the threat that they represent to Israel's very existence, that they have committed repeatedly, and people keep forgetting this, or it's shoved aside because with the distance of time, that they are sworn to have October 7th be the first, that there'll be a second, a third, and a thousandth time. And
as well, there should be.
How many hostages does Israel have of Palestinian people? What is it, like 1,200 or something?
No, it's how many? Thousands. Yeah, no, it's over two. Look, it's well over 2,000 because they've only been and that only is people.
And they rearrest them, so it's a joke that they even released last time, because they can just come and abduct you right away and rearrest you. Also, this woman clearly knows nothing about lines. Like, what is going on with her eyeliner? She's just never. She looks even more evil. I'm just saying, girl.
I want to comment on her.
I know. Don't comment on her appearance, but I will tell you this, and I've been in her presence. I don't care. I've been in her presence more times than I care to count.
Yeah.
And what I can tell you is this, and I've heard this from basically everybody that's ever been around here that isn't a complete political sycophant.
Right.
There's a very negative energy that surrounds her. And so if you're in her presence, you can feel it. You can feel that there is something very nefarious about her, that you don't want to be around her for any longer than you need to be. So it's not entirely surprising.
Oh,
I'll pull that up.
Okay, because Chip's got the numbers. Yeah. Okay.
So I think it's important that people understand that Debbie is basically saying, she's getting to the point now where she's not only crossing Schumer and the president, she is literally going along with exactly what Netanyahu. Why do you think that they had a meeting? Why is the first thing that she does when she comes back from Israel to go on with CNN? She basically had her private meeting with Netanyahu.
These are the talking points.
Exactly what to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But people don't think for themselves.
There's no country on earth, including and especially the United States, that would tolerate conditions like that, and neither should.
By the way, one thing that I have to point out. One thing I do have to point out: a person that constantly is blinking their eyes is having to think about what they're going to say.
Well, here's the thing, though. She's also moving around a lot, and I don't know if that's not something that's like a physical thing. And I don't want to talk about that because there might be something, and I don't know.
But they always say that people are lying when they're constantly blinking their eyes. I'm just saying.
All right.
Or is Israel? And so this can end tomorrow. It could end in 5 minutes if those conditions are met. So let's make sure that Qatar and Egypt and other countries that have sway with let's make sure that they use their leverage and help get the hostages home, including the 6 American hostages that are still in captivity, and ensure that threat ends.
You mentioned the situation on the ground for civilians. Bernie Sanders said this morning, Senator Sanders, that President Biden needs to make it clear, in his view, that the U.S. support for Israel does, in fact, have some limitations. Here's more of what Senator Sanders said.
The United States of America cannot be complicit in this mass slaughter of children. What you can say to Netanyahu, stop the slaughter, no more money to Netanyahu's war machine to kill Palestinian children.
President Biden yesterday in that same interview, when he was asked about a red line, he went on to say 30,000 additional Palestinian deaths would be a red line. Do you also see that as a red line?
What I see is that we have to make sure that Iran, who is obviously tied closely to Hamas, Hezbollah, aren't able to declare victory, because this was all part of their plan. They intended and knew.
I cannot watch this.
I mean, if this is not, and this is what we've been saying for years, if this is not a corporate captured federal representative of the highest order.
Oh my God.
First of all, it's the classic politics speak of saying no when it has to be explained.
No, she didn't even answer it. She
well,
did a
no,
switch. It was the
answer,
switch.
No, her answer is no, and that's her way of saying no without having to say the word
all
no.
I know is it was also a nice way for her to inject Iran in, because nothing will help more, Debbie, than having inflammatory rhetoric about Iran. That's what we need. Let's throw that in here.
I mean, Atheer, you would agree that this is like straight out of AIPAC playbook.
And it's just like playing on people's fears as fear mongering. It's manipulation. I honestly don't think they're not very smart. It's the same talking points that you can, clearly see holes through their entire argument. It's ridiculous. There's the same puppets that just repeat the same thing over and over. And as if also Biden has any sway over Netanyahu. Right. It's like he's a bloodthirsty, like warmonger, bloodthirsty criminal who is not going to listen to anybody. He is a sociopathic narcissist too. Like, why would he listen to the US? But it's like, oh, now after we prop them up for 75 years, 80 years, like, let's now say, hey, maybe like slow it down a little bit on the genocide, as if like that's not how Israel managed to be created in the first place. It's a little too late now that we have social media and other people seeing what's going on, and elections are coming up, and Biden is seeing how that's negatively impacting him. It's like, oh, okay, let me send aid while also funding their bombs.
Yeah, I gave everybody, in my mind, everybody had a 3-week max grace period after October 7th to get on the right side of history on this, in terms of their legacies. Now, and politically, there are people, they're never coming back from this, as far as I'm concerned. Like, this is, and anybody within that period that came to their senses, they're on the right side of history. And after that, at this point, it doesn't matter what they say. You're done. You're unredeemable.
And this is the whole point that is being made that some people in the chat don't seem to fully understand, is that you should be thankful that there has only been one 10-7, if you will, that has happened at this point. There is a genocide that is going on right now.
But apparently it's going to take another 30,000 for Biden to care. That's apparently,
and it's an ongoing, genocide since 1940. And people are just now realize, again, just seeing the history is starting as when it hurt them, when for the first time they felt it. Imagine if since the inception of Israel, if that's what happened on October 7th, tenfold happened every single moment of every second. Would we stand for this? Based on the rumors alone that they started about the babies and the raping and all that, based on just rumors, everybody was like completely on their side and gave them complete impunity. And now we're seeing things that are horrifically worse than even their rumors, and people don't care. So clearly, people want to pick and choose whose human rights are worth fighting for or upholding.
Yeah. All right.
We have to finish it. I cannot with her.
That Israel, rightfully so, would respond forcefully in their defense. And their goal, by using civilians as human shields, by putting their people in harm's way that don't really have the same value for human life as most other civilized nations in the world do. And this is
but you see, that's when the bigotry comes out.
Well, no, and this is the best thing ever, because this, to me, and I've said it over and over again, one, how do you know Israel's lying? Their lips are moving. But that aside, every single thing that comes out of Israel in terms of what Palestinians do, what Hamas does, what she's saying, all of that is confessions as to what Israel does. And I know that because I was a human shield for the state of Israel. Yeah, that's right. So you can sit there and say that all you want, because they use human shields. What do you think they're doing when they take teenagers into occupied territory and have them planting trees under armed guard protecting them? If you're taking my kids somewhere where you need to bring an armed guard, then you're somewhere you ought not be. And I call that human shields. This infuriates me to no end.
Well, you can use as human shields by tying them to their tanks and whatever. And
but they use their own.
And use their own. Yeah. I mean, the hostages' families are like, please release them. They're begging that. No, they're the ones trying to get, they're protesting, and they're the ones
killed them, their own hostages. They shot three of them. We saw that. All of this, the fact that this woman can sit here and say that anybody in Israel cares government-wise, about the hostages, that's just a lie. That's a lie. You're indiscriminately bombing a place that is this big and you don't know where your people are and you're saying you care about them. I don't understand how anybody can accept that. That is absurd.
What is most impressive to me is the level of lying that Debbie is willing to go to. This is so beyond the pale at this point. It's like somebody ought to grill her and figure out how she can, because they say like one lie becomes another, and then it's like, how do you even know what the truth is anymore? This is
they believe it. They convince themselves to believe it. Yeah,
she is a very unique political corporate captured representative in that I think it's twofold. I think she does what she does for the money and the power, and I think she believes it too. That is very dangerous. We'll finish it out.
All part of this is all by design, Erica. They want to turn the world against Israel, and we have to make sure that while making sure there is humanitarian assistance and the hunger that is growing is addressed, that Israel has the threat removed, that Hamas, as the terrorist organization that it is, continues to represent, and hostages are released. Both things have to happen, and the world, and the Arab world in particular, needs to lean in on Hamas and its allies and ensure that we can have peace. We don't need to be talking about conditions in the United States on our aid. We need to be talking about putting worldwide pressure on this terrorist organization who is holding 134 people in captivity.
Go to hell.
I honestly, it's really, I like that it is out there because it really does let her present herself for who she is versus if you don't see her, people forget who she is. And I love her reminding everybody who she is. But to me, that is like the most off the wall thing. She didn't mention anything about one dead Palestinian. She didn't, but these are people that these people believe that prior to October 7th, there was peace. See, and the thing is, the delusion is that on their end it was because peace.
That's what exactly it. That's a colonial. There's a colonial oppressive concept to them. It's right. Their term. We don't want peace. We want justice. We want freedom. We want liberation. But to them, it's like peace is us just shutting the hell up and doing whatever they want, continuing to get killed in silence.
Right, but yet perpetuating violence. Oppression is violence. I even consider violence them brainwashing me the first 40 years of my life and all of that propaganda, because that puts toxicity in my head. And that's violence. And so all of these things, keeping people oppressed is violence. If you're standing on someone's neck, even though you're standing still and they can't get up, that's violence. So that's essentially what's happening. So to say that anything was peaceful prior to October 7th just shows your level of privilege and delusion, that to you perceive that quiet that you gain from having, walls and guards and guns as peace. And yet we know that peace can only exist with justice.